Welcome to Life, Biz, and All That Jazz, the podcast where real talk meets transformation. If you're navigating your mental health, healing from trauma, sobriety, or just want to create a life that truly feels like yours, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Jasmine Lashotto, and every week we dive into the raw, the messy, the transformations. I bring you guests from all over the world or solo deep dives with myself like today's episode. The whole purpose of starting Life Biz and All That Jazz was so no one ever needed to feel alone. I myself have struggled with my mental health. I felt alone. I felt like there was just darkness everywhere and I didn't see a way out of the tunnel. But it didn't need to be that way. We have the power of our voice, we have the power of speaking up, and we have the power of asking for help because there's so many people around us that love us and want to be there. Before I start with today's episode, I just need to give a warning that there will be talks of suicide and mental health. I hope you listen with care and take your time listening if it does trigger emotions. Please read the show notes for more details. Today's episode's a very special episode. On Monday, it would have been my dad's 64th birthday. To think that he has been gone for 10 years, it's just gone so quick. Then I also look at what we have all achieved in those years and how proud he would be of us. And that's what really builds that hope and that motivation for me to constantly do better and to share my voice and to share what I've been through and to heal out loud, to know that it's helping other people, and also to share his story because he has a remarkable story. And even though that it did end in tragedy, there's still so much to learn from my dad's story, and that's what I really want to share in today's episode. So today's episode, I will be reading from A Glimmer of Hope. This was a book that my dad was in when he was at a really good point in his life. He's a part of multiple people that are in this book, and it's such a remarkable book. I haven't read it in years. I've looked at it, but I haven't read it in years, so I don't know how I'm going to go reading it. This is something that I've wanted to share for a while, but it's also just a part of me is the sadness. I do get angry at myself, and I have processed a lot of emotions. And even though he did what he did, he saw no way out, but I just get frustrated. And it's okay to feel like that as a suicide survivor, because we're going to have all these different emotions, and it's about talking about it and sharing it so other people know that they are loved and they will be so missed. And my life will never be the same. My siblings, my family life will never be the same. And there's just so many exciting things that have happened. There's grandkids and there's so many things that like me and my brothers and my sister have achieved, and all our family. There's just so much hope in life and the future, and we just need to make sure that anyone struggling with their mental health feels supported. So that's the purpose I want to get out for today's episode, is to talk about this book and to spread awareness that even though at this time my dad was in a good place and it did end with him taking his life, that if we can talk about mental health more, if we can share stories and share the hope, then maybe we can help reduce the numbers. That's my whole point, is so no one ever feels alone, and we can reduce the numbers of people that are taking their lives and dying by suicide and families that have to suffer. So let's get started with the book. So this is, I have it pinned. I actually need to share something. I found a note that my dad had written, and I was using this as a bookmark. And the thing is, with my dad, he constantly tried to be better. He constantly tried to work on his mental health. And this is just a small example. He actually wrote down what was good for your lungs, and like green tea, deep breathing, cranberry juice, oregano, a little tips of healthy things you can do for that. And I loved his writing. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to try and share the page. That's my dad, Graziano is his full name. And this is the book. So for any of you that don't know, any of you that are new here, I just want you to understand that, and I do share in episode 1 and 2, which is my story, that my dad attempted to take his life by fire. That was the first major attempt in 2003. And then after this, that's why he had severe burns. After this, he turned his life around. He joined the Burns Foundation. He did so much for charity and really gave it back to other people. He did all these charity sports events. He did so many guest speaking events. And then that's where this point is, where he is right now in this book where I'm going to read. He was at a good place, but we're going to talk about his story. So there is going to be some triggering moments, which are regarding the attempt and the fire. So I just want to mention that again. So the title of his page is My Life Was Mostly a Charade. It was not always sad, but when I was depressed, it overshadowed the good. And that's one thing I want to point out is my dad had his darkness, but he was so loving and he was the best dad. And it's because of him that I believe that I can do anything that I want to do, because he always said that to me. And that's something that's ingrained in me forever now. And I'm so blessed to have that. Okay. Petrol everywhere. I sit in the middle of it. I think for a while and say to myself, this is what you have to do. My thoughts are of my kids, but I believe they are better off without me. I ignite the petrol. For me, this seemed the only way out of more than 25 years of depression. All I want to do is go to sleep, endless sleep, to never wake up. My life was mostly a charade. It was not all sad, but when I was depressed, it overshadowed all the good times. I had constant suicidal thoughts. Didn't take long. I did a lot of self-destructive things. Maybe it was my way of asking for help, but I was embarrassed to ask. I was a man, and men don't cry or ask for help. That's weak. My escape was to get drunk or stoned. I did this almost every day from 18 to 41. It took away the depression and I was someone else. However, fleetingly. The mood swings could pop up anytime, anywhere. My highs were so good, I could be or do anything. I was a good community person, good at my job, basically good at anything, but I disregarded my family. The fit and athletic Grazi was the one most people saw. They could not have imagined who I really was. When I hit my lows, I hated myself. Bringing down the people around me made me feel good because I wanted them to feel the same pain. My family really loved me, otherwise they would have not have stayed around for so long. I truly loved them, and I was always scared that I would hurt them. I never physically abused them, but it didn't make the mental abuse any better. The scary part was that the people who meant the most to me also suffered depression. Not the type I had, but social depression brought about by my behavior. When I look back, all I see is pain, and it's not only mine. Getting married just put off the inevitable. I had kids and therefore a reason to live, but the mood swings kept coming. My family sacrificed a lot for me. I was not a good father, but my 4 kids knew when the real dad was around and that good times were to be had. A few weeks before the fire, my wife Sydney broke down and told me she had enough. She was desperately unhappy. She said she'd given me 20 years of her life and all I gave her was pain. I had never seen her this way and it really hurt me. She was my best friend, but the sad thing is I never told her or showed her. I was on my way to work when I heard a story on the radio about a house that caught fire. The family lost everything, but no one was hurt. The radio station had a fundraiser for them. I started thinking that if I did this thing, set fire to the house, that I would die and the same thing would happen to my family and life would go on without me. I feel like I want to say stuff in between reading it. A few things I want to touch on there is obviously he thought he wasn't a good dad, and I know it was traumatic what we went through, and like he says about his pain and when he was angry and the mood swings. We did go through a lot through childhood, but now we see it obviously differently, and we've all had our own struggles in our own way and had to deal with things. And it's just when you understand mental health, and especially for myself, knowing how low you can get and how you think everyone will be better off without you and you're a burden, that's just what breaks my heart so much. I feel that no one is ever a burden. No matter what you do, we will make mistakes. There's a difference between someone that's a bad person and just doesn't care at all, bad 24/7. And then there's difference between someone that's struggling and brings out the worst in themselves because of the pain that they're suffering and the depression and the darkness. That's just kind of how I see it. And I think another thing I wanted to touch on is better off without me, but I would have gone the rest of my life helping him and wanting to be there for him than not having him. I was 28 when he passed. I'd already gone through 28 years of my life and And then to think now it's been 10 years without him. I think if he was still here now, it would be different. I can't bring him back. I know that. But just this day and age with things that's happening, and he mentions about being a man and he couldn't talk up. And back then in 2000, things were different. It was starting to be less of a taboo, but not like it is now. And yeah, can't take things back. All I can do is share the positive. And obviously this is really sad reading this. Overall, we just need to know that people do think like this. And if sharing this can help someone reach out themselves, ask for help, or see a family member, seeing how much people carry for years without sharing anything, we can try and stop it before it gets too late. And now we'll go back to the book. We're talking about the fire. So the week before, I didn't go to work. I just drove to the beach and slept until it was time to go home. The night before the fire, I was drinking heavily and smoking pot. I woke up at 6 a.m. and drove to the petrol station and filled up some drums with petrol. I woke Cindy and told her to get herself and the kids out of the house. Then she asked me what I was doing. I told her to shut up and get out. She tried to stop me, but being the great mother she was, she got the kids out. The two oldest kids, Jasmine, then 15, and Timothy, 13, tried to stop me too, but I remember throwing them out and locking the door. I finished pouring petrol everywhere while they were screaming, "Help, stop him." I sat in the middle of the lounge room and tried to light it twice and nothing happened. Then I looked outside and said, "You're better off without me," and lit the petrol. All hell broke loose. When I started to burn, my body and mind kicked into survival mode and I tried to get out of the house, but the doors were all locked. Finally, I opened the front door and Timothy was waiting outside and turned the hose on me. Everyone else was across the road. It was May 19th, 2003. Something that I want to mention from that part is the drinking and smoking pot. Like, it's so mind altering, especially for my dad. He had bipolar. And I know my darkest moments have been when I've been drunk and really just in the deep of it. And I can't do any other type of substance. I wouldn't anyway, but I obviously have tried when I was younger, parties and stuff like that. But they just make me think a way that I'd never want to think, which is coming to the point of why I'm sober. At Sydney Concord Hospital, when I was released, my mother looked after me. I was half the man I had been and still wanted to die. It was a living nightmare for my mother. She was scared I would take my life. She too had social depression. It took me a long time to beat depression, but one of the main reasons I did conquer the disease was because of the support of those around me. My family and friends saved my life. I did get some counselling in hospital, but the thing that really helped me was going to cognitive therapy classes where I was talking to others who suffered depression like me, people who know what it's all about. My life changed when I got involved with the Peter Hughes Burn Foundation. In my 47 years, I'd never been stronger than I am now. I have helped other burn survivors and have the support of all the doctors and nurses at Concord Hospital Burns Unit. These people saved my life and now support me with what I'm doing. Easy to say and hard to believe, but depression can be beaten. I did it, and I'm not special. I'm just Grazi. I thank my kids for where I am now. When I woke up in hospital, I made a promise that if I got through this, I would live the rest of my life as a good man. If I had the balls to tell my family and friends what I was feeling and not be embarrassed, things might have been different. Depression is a disease and it can be managed. You don't have to walk alone. There is help out there. My biggest triumph was in 2009 when my son Tim rang me to see how I was. I told him, if there is one thing you can learn from your old man, it is no matter how bad things are, someone who cares will be there for you. Just look at your dad. I came back from the dead and now I'm a happy man. You know what he said? This boy who had waited outside a burning house and put his father's flames out. Dad, I'm so proud of you. The joy I felt that day, no words can explain. I need to get a tissue. Oh, that was so hard. Oh, I wanted to see, I think, the other photo at the end. This photo, I just love this photo. He's just so happy. Like, obviously that was hard to read. It's sad. I know it's really sad, but I wanted to read that because he was okay. He beat depression. He says that. He was in such a good place. But then things changed. And one thing that I really want to get across from this is that depression, bipolar, mental health, overall mental health, no matter what, it falls under that. It's lifelong. You need to work on it
for the rest of your life. You need to be kind to yourself. You need to support your family and friends. You need to talk up, because I don't know where that changed. So I don't know what date that will come out. I don't know when it came out, but it was published, I think, in 2010 from Lifeline. WA, it's called, Glimmer of Hope, Help Me. So that was 2010. Then we lost him in 2016, so 6 years later. He was 54. And the thing is as well, after that, there was some times when he wasn't in a good place, and he was drinking, and his friends had told us, that he wasn't good. And then we'd talk to him and he'd be like, no, I'm okay. I just had a moment. If I could go back now, I probably would have done something different, but I can't. And I think it's hard too, because I just try and want to save the world. Now I want other families not to have to go through what mine did. And I have that pressure, and that's my mission. And I know I can't help everyone, but I can just try and help, obviously, by sharing this. But then as that got through, obviously, it got to a point where he wasn't okay. And a big thing as well is that if you do struggle with your mental health, I don't want to tell anyone not to drink alcohol, but the night before my dad died by suicide, he was drinking wine on his own. I know that because we went to the house and we had a look. We had to go through his house after it. And there was an empty bottle and like a glass on the lounge. And I think if he wasn't drinking, that he would still be here. And I can't tell you 100% for sure, but I just really want to share that and hope that you can see that someone can get better, but then things can change. And I don't want to ever put out there that your life is not going to be good, because I still struggle with myself, but I have put things in place, which is I don't drink. I put myself first with my nervous system. I set boundaries. I only surround myself with people that lift me up and are positive, and I exercise every day. I run or do Pilates. There's so many things that I do that I know keep my mental health in check, and that's something that I'll forever have to do. And I'm okay with that. That's my brain. That's how my brain's wired. But there's so much power in all these things that I have in my brain, and with my ADHD and OCD, and knowing that we all have flaws, but we're all amazing and we all deserve to be here. No one ever deserves to work so hard and have a life like that and turn their whole life around for them to just give up again, because he didn't deserve that. And I know he fought so much, and there's nothing that we can do now but share. So that's today's episode. That's what I wanted to share. And this also follows on. Next week's episode is a really special episode. So I'm participating in Podcast-thon, and it's all about charities, and it's actually just come at a really perfect time, because I wanted to share this episode for my dad for his birthday, and 10 years been gone. And then next week, the Podcast-a-thon episode comes out, and that's all about, similar to what I finished today's episode with, is mental health, and that we need to really prioritize it for the rest of our lives and support people, and know that we're all going to be going through different parts and different journeys, but all that matters is that you just need to look out for people that you care about, and just be compassionate and understanding. And we're all different, and that's okay. And just because you don't struggle with anything doesn't mean that other people don't. And I think that's the biggest thing that has made the stigma and people not being able to talk out, is because people that don't understand it dismiss it and don't realize how bad and detrimental it is when they do that. So hopefully this can create awareness, because it's either people don't know or they just don't care. And I can't help the ones that don't care, but maybe the ones that don't know, we can spread awareness and help them understand more about mental health. So thank you so much for listening today. I know this wouldn't have been an easy one to listen to. It wasn't an easy one for me, but what comes with sharing the good is sometimes sharing the bad to help and make things good. So just remember, it's progress, not perfection, and I will see you next week.